In the near future, Los Angeles faces skyrocketing unemployment, homelessness, and social unrest, pushing the city into a surge of violent crime. Overcrowded prisons lead the government to create red zones to contain dangerous offenders. Still, law enforcement suffers heavy losses, with hundreds of officers killed daily. To tackle this, the authorities launch the Mercy Court, where artificial intelligence acts as judge, jury, and executioner. This system eliminates long trials, allowing suspects to be sentenced just hours after committing a crime. The AI starts every case assuming the accused is guilty unless proven innocent. 2 years into the program, 18 people have been executed, and crime has dropped by 68%, saving billions in public funds and restoring a sense of safety. Detective Chris wakes up strapped to a chair in a courtroom, a video promoting the Mercy program playing on a screen in front of him. Suddenly, the AI judge Maddox appears and informs him that his trial can start, now that his blood alcohol level is within limits. She explains he was unconscious for nearly 6 hours and asks him to swear to tell the truth. After Chris does so, Maddox drops a bombshell. He is accused of murdering his wife. Bodycam footage shows police entering his home to find Nicole bleeding on the floor and their daughter Britt crying beside her. Nicole has been stabbed and, when asked who did it, she names Chris. He watches in horror as his own name is spoken. Maddox points out that Chris was alone with Nicole at the time of the attack. Doubting her claim, Chris checks online and sees his name splashed across news reports. The video details his arrest and his support for the Mercy program. Chris and his partner Jack had previously caught David, the first criminal executed under Mercy. Maddox then asks Chris to enter a plea. He declares himself not guilty. Yet Maddox explains that, based on the evidence, his likelihood of guilt is 97.5%. To avoid execution, he must reduce it to 92%, and he only has 90 minutes to defend himself. He can access everything stored in the Los Angeles Municipal Cloud, a legal requirement for all personal and corporate devices. If he fails, the chair will kill him via a sonic pulse. As a timer appears, Maddox reviews the evidence. Chris arrived at work at 8:51 but never left his car. Instead, he drove home. Nicole refused to let him in, insisting he communicate through a lawyer. Frustrated, Chris punches the camera before using his own keys to enter. Nicole tries to push him out before the door closes. Maddox fast-forwards the footage, showing Chris stayed in the house for 26 minutes. Shortly after, Britt returns from a sleepover and screams. Investigators determine Nicole was stabbed by a right-handed assailant, and a single wound fractured her spine and pierced her liver. Blood from Nicole is found on Chris's clothes. After leaving, Chris went to a bar to drink, which he denies. Security footage captures him heavily intoxicated, resisting arrest, getting tossed, and attempting to steal a stranger's car before police subdue him. Chris doesn't remember any of it, and Maddox blames his blackout on alcohol. Chris wants to speak with Britt, but the trial only allows witnesses, and minors are excluded. She's currently staying with her maternal grandparents. Rules permit the AI to send a grieving message to the deceased's family, so Chris lets Maddox handle contacting Britt. Rules also allow the defendant to speak with a sponsor. A video from Rob, Chris's Alcoholics Anonymous mentor, appears, scolding him for not reaching out during his drinking urges. Rob had called the police when Nicole didn't show up for her shift. Maddox reviews Chris and Nicole's history. They dated 20 years ago, married after 3, and a year later had Britt. Life was happy until Chris's partner, Ray, died on duty, pushing him back into alcoholism and slowly breaking the family apart. Nicole considered divorce, and her messages show Chris lost his temper 57 times in 6 months. Another video shows Britt talking to a boy Chris doesn't know. She has secret social media accounts showing her party outfits. She mentions her mother crying and her father acting aggressively. At that moment, Britt calls Chris, breaking down, and he reassures her that he didn't kill Nicole and that his arrest is a mistake. Her grandfather forces the call to end. Maddox reminds Chris he has only 1 hour and 8 minutes remaining. Chris calls Jack, who is still investigating Nicole's crime scene. Chris reviews all the case files before asking Jack to guide him through the house. A virtual reconstruction overlays the tour. In the living room, a broken vase suggests a struggle. In the kitchen, bloody footprints and wall stains indicate a fight. A broken plate shows Nicole tried to defend herself. A missing knife from the set matches the stabbing weapon. Chris's fingerprints are on it, but he claims he used it for cooking. Fibers, hair, skin, and DNA matching Chris are also found. Chris checks Nicole's phone records, remembering her texting after their argument. No messages or calls match the incident, so he asks about her work phone. Maddox didn't know about a second phone, so Chris provides the number. In the house, Jack finds the ringing phone in a car outside. Breaking the window, she retrieves it and discovers it's a black market unit, unregistered in the municipal cloud. All calls and texts went to another black market device. Maddox calls that number. The person hangs up, but their location is still traceable. Jack speeds there on her flying bike. Maddox notes Chris already suspected Nicole was hiding something. His guilt probability drops to 0.8%. The phone is tracked to a hotel and is about to exit the back door. Jack and 2 officers block it as Patrick tries to escape. Seeing the cops, he flees back inside, prompting a chase. Maddox searches his profile and finds Patrick is a chef, late on rent, and previously investigated for social security fraud. Patrick evades officers briefly by taking a camera-free door, but a drone locates him on the roof. The officers tackle him to a lower level, capturing him. Patrick insists he didn't commit any crime and ran out of fear of being blamed. Chris wonders why Nicole was meeting him. Patrick says he offered what Chris couldn't, admitting to flirting and a few dates that never escalated. Nicole wanted privacy, hence the burner phones. Footage confirms Patrick's story, and security cameras show he was at work during the murder, clearing him. Patrick lectures Chris on neglecting his family, explaining Nicole just wanted someone to listen. Jack arrests Patrick for resisting. With only 53 minutes left, Chris's guilt probability spikes to 98%, as he now appears to have a motive for killing Nicole. Chris then admits that earlier today, Nicole discovered the hidden bottle of alcohol he keeps in his car. He's been drinking again for about a year. Maddox starts looking for more footage to piece things together. Some time back, Nicole had caught Chris drinking in the garage. He snapped at her, and that moment finally made him realize he had a serious problem. He began attending AA meetings, where he met Rob, who helped him stay sober for a while. But losing Ray hit him hard and triggered his relapse. Another video shows Ray and Chris in a police car, preparing to approach a suspect in another vehicle. At that moment, Chris gets a call from Nicole. Ray tells him to take it while he handles the situation alone. Unfortunately, the suspect shoots Ray in his car and pins him against the police vehicle. Chris rushes Ray back into the police car, promising to take him to the hospital, but he's also chasing the criminal. He rams the suspect's car with his own, flipping it and causing a crash. Tragically, Ray dies from his injuries during the pursuit. Chris then corners the man in the water, attempting an arrest, but later in court, the suspect is acquitted. Chris regrets not shooting him when he had the chance. Maddox, uninterested in his regrets, urges Chris to focus on recalling the events of that day. He explains that when he arrived at work, he noticed his bottle was missing and realized Nicole had found it. He went home, leading to an argument. In frustration, he broke a vase she loved, and the shards cut her, which explains the small amount of her blood on his clothes. Beyond that, he has no memory of what happened next. Chris starts doubting whether he could have done it after all. Maddox reminds him that he still has 43 minutes and access to all her investigative tools. Looking through Nicole's contacts, Chris calls Patrick in prison to ask if Nicole had any ongoing problems. Patrick explains that she was under significant stress at work, tasked with monitoring coworkers after some chemicals went missing. Chris considers whether someone from her workplace could be involved, but Maddox notes that none of them were seen in the neighborhood since Sunday's barbecue. Chris then instructs Jack to check Viking Shipping Depot, Nicole's employer. While waiting, he reviews clips from the barbecue to identify her coworkers. Maddox confirms that all of them have solid alibis for today. Chris asks Maddox to review his neighbor's security camera, but it had an outage, and the footage is still being archived. Next, he requests video of the cars that attended the barbecue. He notices Rob's vehicle had 3 additional passengers. Chris calls Rob to ask who he gave rides to. Rob provides the names and confirms that none of them left with him and everyone showed up for work yesterday. Growing frustrated, Chris reviews Britt's video from the previous night and checks the timestamp. Her rant occurred while he was at work, so he couldn't have made Nicole cry. Since Britt is now a potential witness, Maddox allows Chris to speak with her. Britt is furious, having seen the video of his arrest and realizing he's been drinking behind their backs. The internet believes Chris is guilty, and she questions if it's true. Her grandfather wants her to hang up, but Maddox forbids it. It's part of the trial. Chris asks Britt what she heard last night. She says she heard Nicole crying and some strange noises in the house. A social media video shows her searching the house, and Chris notices the basement door is open. They never use that door. Britt insists she wasn't there last night. Chris asks Maddox to clear the image, revealing a hand on the doorknob. One of the barbecue guests had stayed behind, hiding in the basement for 2 days. To identify him, they check Nicole's company servers. Going through emails, Chris discovers someone has been falsifying stock records to cover up 300 kilos of missing chemicals over the past 6 months. The missing substance is urea granules, used in fertilizers, dermatological products, and illegal substances popular in red zones. A mysterious email instructs Nicole to meet at the docks. Chris finds security footage of the meeting. Nicole argues with Holt, who asks her not to involve the police and give him more time. She refuses, worried about her job, while Holt throws his things in frustration. Reviewing Holt's emails, Chris sees he's addicted to gambling. Checking his finances, he's drowning in debt, with Rob bailing him out. This lowers Chris's guilt probability to 94.7%. Chris calls Rob, but Holt answers, wishing him luck while searching for Rob. Maddox tries to track Holt during the murder but fails. Chris asks her to check his neighbor's camera again. Something moves in the bushes, but the footage hasn't fully uploaded. Soon, Holt returns to the phone, unable to find Rob. Chris accuses him of stealing the chemicals, and Holt admits the truth: Rob took them. Holt felt indebted to Rob and tried to help him with Nicole. Now Holt can't locate Rob, and a coworker says he left in a truck. Holt adds that Rob didn't go to work yesterday. The last time he saw him was at the barbecue, where Rob asked him to give rides while he stayed a little longer. Maddox tracks the missing truck, and Chris sends Jack after it, recalling that Rob has a gun license. Meanwhile, the neighbor's footage finishes uploading, showing Rob exiting the trunk of a neighbor's car. This only lowers Chris's guilt probability to 93.4%, which angers him. He argues with Maddox, and his philosophical questions glitch her system briefly. With 19 minutes left, Chris contacts friends in the forest to alert them about Rob's guns. Jack and her team surround Rob's house and break in, but he's nowhere inside. Chris notices no truck parked outside. Chris realizes that Rob had removed the tracker from the truck and left it back at his house. Maddox scans the city for the truck but can't find its license plates, meaning Rob had taken them off. Chris instructs Jack to send out an alert for a Viking shipping truck. Inside Rob's house, police discover a torn picture with a hand pressed against the ripped edge. Rob grew up in a children's home, and his records were lost in a data hack, so Maddox needs time to trace the photo online. In the garage, officers find the missing chemicals and burned evidence. Analysis shows Rob wasn't selling them directly, he was converting them into illegal substances. The truck's plates are also recovered alongside a book detailing how to make explosives from the chemicals. If Rob plans to make a bomb, they need clues to figure out his target. Suddenly, cameras spot the truck racing downtown. At the same time, Maddox pieces together the rest of the torn photo and reveals that the other boy is David, the first criminal executed under mercy. Rob and David were brothers, but Rob was adopted separately and given a new surname. Rob had befriended Chris after David's death, meaning this entire plan was part of his revenge. Chris realizes Rob is headed for the courtroom with a bomb. A drone gets close enough to confirm Rob is driving the truck. He's speaking to someone next to him, though the passenger isn't visible. Suspicious, Chris calls Britt, but his father-in-law answers, saying she went outside for fresh air. Checking his in-law's security camera, Chris discovers that Ron has kidnapped Britt. Meanwhile, police in Rob's garage find a timer. They evacuate just in time, and most officers escape before the building explodes in a massive fireball. Many officers are injured, and Chris can't reach Jack. The garage bomb only contained a small portion of the chemicals. Maddox concludes that the truck holds the rest of the chemicals, which could destroy the city. Jack finally calls Chris to confirm she's safe and agrees to pursue the truck. Chris's guilt probability drops to 0. Maddox wants to halt the trial, but Chris refuses, insisting he needs access to the system to stop Rob. She warns him there are only 9 minutes left and the chair could kill him, but he doesn't care, he's focused on saving the city. His reasoning causes Maddox to glitch. Chris explains how they can cooperate for the greater good, and Maddox agrees to continue. Police cars follow the truck, attempting multiple roadblocks, but Rob dodges or rams through them. As the chase is broadcast live, he drives recklessly, hitting civilian cars, and one police vehicle crashes into a store. When the truck reaches the bridge, a SWAT helicopter tries to lower an agent, while more police attempt to block Rob. He speeds through anyway, leaving the agent with no safe landing. Jack orders her team to take Rob out, ignoring Chris's warnings that Britt is in the truck. Even Maddox agrees this is the only option. A remote-controlled car carrying explosives is sent under the truck, but the connection fails, and the bomb doesn't detonate. Chris wonders if Maddox hacked it, but she remains silent. With only 4 minutes left, Maddox sends an evacuation alert. Chris instructs Jack to fly in front of the truck. He sees Britt begging for help and tries to reason with Rob. Enraged, Rob claims David was innocent, but as he starts to reveal more, Jack fires, causing her to lose control of her bike and fall. The truck crashes into the courthouse. The chair begins activating to execute Chris, but Maddox doesn't respond because the power is out, the system runs on backup. Inside the lobby, Rob uses Britt as a human shield, firing at guards. With 10 seconds left, the chair descends, and Chris screams for help. Maddox comes back online and halts the trial just in time. Chris takes the elevator to the lobby, grabs a vest from a fallen guard, and tells Maddox to pull up information on David. He tries to calm Rob, but Rob pulls out the detonator. Before he can activate it, Maddox appears on a screen, giving him the chance to clear his brother's name. Rob insists he spoke to David at the time of the murder, but Maddox points out David didn't have a phone when he was found near the body. While Rob argues with Maddox, Britt bites his arm to free herself. Chris leaps on Rob, and they struggle over the detonator. Rob keeps shooting, but Chris disconnects several wires, disabling the device. He then kicks the gun away, grabs it, and points it at Rob, ready to avenge Nicole. Britt cries, begging him not to fire. Chris hesitates, and Rob insists he was on the phone with David the entire time and even called the precinct. Suddenly, Jack shoots him, and Chris has to stop her from firing again to finish Rob safely. Rob explains he spoke with a woman at the precinct who promised to check David's call history. This means whoever arrested David knew the truth. Maddox reviews the precinct's records and confirms someone accessed Rob's call logs. Chris recalls that Jack arrested David and demands answers. Jack refuses, but Maddox reviews her own system history. The phone was in evidence, but Jack had removed it and thrown David in the river. She admits she did it to prove mercy works and maintain public safety. Chris responds that they need justice, not just control, and orders officers to arrest her. He then rushes to reunite with Britt. Maddox reflects on executing an innocent man and wonders about her actions. Chris remarks that, like humans, AI can make mistakes and must learn from them. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss more videos like this. Thanks for watching.